what inspired you to get into architecture in the first place, and how has your journey been in the formative years?
I wanted to become an architect for a very long time, very young age. I was in between becoming doctor or product designer.
Opening of Navi Mumbai Airport Terminal a couple of days ago by our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. What has been your experience working in India?
I think we are very proud that there's another masterpiece now from Zaha Hadid Architects in Mumbai, Innsbruck in around 2000, where I went into a gallery and I was mesmerized by the long panels on display. And I heard that she was teaching in Vienna. So my ultimate goal was to try to get into the school.
Obviously are getting very complex and large project briefs.
Yeah.
Are there moments in the studio where there's a lot of energy and heat and conflict, or you sort of have a mechanism to? And you mentioned that it's been 3 years since you're associated, she being your mentor there. And can you share any anecdote, a story?
And that was really inspiring to work with her. She often really pushed you, woke you up to think differently. Design is not driven by hierarchy or status. It's really whoever brings the best idea to the table, this will be put forward and wins. When it comes to softwares and tools, they develop a lot. At that time, we did a lot with hand drawings or model making. In the recent last 20 years, is a lot of with computers. The whole industry changing with AI. The whole workforce is changing. I think it's going to revolutionize the way we work in architecture.
Hello friends and fellow professionals, welcome to yet another episode, our second episode of IIID BRC, Bangalore Regional Chapter's Design Dialogues, where we meet leading industry professionals, architects and designers who share their journey to enrich our own. Today, we have with us a very special guest. On behalf of IIID BRC, it is my absolute honor and pleasure to welcome architect Johannes Schafelner, director at Zaha Hadid Architects, to this forum. Welcome, Johannes.
Thanks very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here and having this conversation with you today.
Thank you. I'm sure this is going to be an exciting episode and journey for all of you. Stay tuned till the end. Relax into your seats. Let me begin by introducing architect Johannes of Zaha Hadid Architects to you in a moment. I did a little bit of research and I'm blown away by the journey and the professional experience of Johannes. So Johannes Schafelner is a director at Zaha Hadid Architects, ZHA, London, and one of the practice's most influential current leaders, shaping major projects and embodying the progressive ethos of Dame Zaha Hadid. Johannes earned his architecture education at Technical University in Innsbruck, Politecnico di Milano, and studied under Dame Zaha Hadid herself at the University of Applied Arts, Vienna, before joining ZHA in 2006. Over nearly 2 decades, he has held key leadership positions and roles at ZHA. Lead project director for global landmarks such as the London 2012 Olympic Aquatics Centre, the roof design and detailing in particular, 520 West 28th Street, which is New York's first luxury highline residential development of ZHA, Roca London Gallery, Songshan Lake Performance Centre, Dongon, project director set for completion in 2025. Master plans such as Aljada, Sharjah, UAE, and Chengdu Unicorn Island, China. Responsible for developing high-profile facade concepts and championing digital design methodologies in the practice. He became a director of ZHA's Employee Benefit Trust in 2021, and he's been tasked with upholding Zaha Hadid's values and the studio's creative legacy. Academic and industry engagement. Schafelner is a frequent keynote speaker and review panelist at international events, guest lecturer at leading universities, notably the Architecture Association London. and a respected voice in architecture's global discourse. He is a registered architect, ARB UK, and a chartered member of RIBA, Royal Institute of British Architects. And he's won many awards. His major built works, especially in collaboration with ZHA, have won numerous international awards, including RIBA, LEAF, and other design recognitions, and have been extensively featured in international journals, design media, and museum exhibitions. But this is a summary. Johannes Schafelner is emblematic of the new generation of practice leaders at ZHA, combining technical precision, imaginative vision, and a collaborative mindset, who actively shape the latest global architecture discourse. His unique journey from academia to realization of icons on multiple continents is charged with anecdotes about the craft, culture, and courage needed to build at the edge of possibility. So we begin our dialogue with Johannes now. Welcome to our global podcast series. IIID DRC, which you would get to know more in detail, is an institutional body that encourages professionals and trade partners alike to come together for the advancement of the profession in India. So without much ado, let's begin. So Johannes, let's start at the beginning. From your early days, when you got into architecture, your education, what inspired you to get into architecture in the first place, and how has your journey been in the formative years?
I wanted to become an architect for a very long time, very young age. I was in between becoming doctor or product designer or architect, but then concluded I need to go into architecture. And as you mentioned, I started to study first in Innsbruck at the Technical University. After Innsbruck, I decided to go 1 year to Milan for exchange programs. And it was actually in Innsbruck in around 2000 where I went into a gallery and I was mesmerized by the long panels on display. And there was an exhibition of Zaha Hadid Architects of the Maxi. From there on, I was hooked and I studied Zaha's books. I wanted to learn about the design, and I heard that she was teaching in Vienna. So my ultimate goal was to, after Milan, that I go to Vienna, try to get into the school, which I then did, and I got accepted, and Zaha was then my teacher for three years.
Wow. I have a quote that I read somewhere. Your creative process is often sparked by walking in cities and nature, noticing movement, rhythm, and how light falls on surfaces.
So nature is certainly a big element we relate to and we study. There are many projects which in early days I worked on, for instance, on the design of a project in Baku, which is, so Zaha was a lot about designing public realm, and the architecture is almost emerging out of, it's a 3D built landscape design. So also this project is folding up and wraps around the interiors and then extends out to the public realm. So there's a strong discussion between the inside and the outside. And a lot of our work is inspired by nature, also parametric design. We always look at nature, what it does. We can learn a lot from it. So certainly it's very much inspired a lot of projects.
Thank you. We'll dive more deeper into your association with Dame Zaha Hadid.
Okay.
You studied under her, and you mentioned that it's been 3 years since you're associated, she being your mentor there. Can you share any anecdote, a story, your association with her, where it still inspires and informs your design work and your methodology?
Well, Zaha was certainly a very inspiring person, first of all, and it was very important years for me to study under her, but also then work with her in the office. There's a couple of points come to my mind. I think one of them is that for her always the best idea wins, and that's still for me very important, or also for the office to the date. So it's not, design is not driven by hierarchy or status. It's really whoever brings the best idea to the table, this will be put forward and wins. Maybe something else would be that she really surrounded herself with very talented people. And that was also in school. She was not there very often, actually, maybe a few times a year. But the environment she created such an inspiring atmosphere that everyone worked super hard.
Wow.
And I think that's very important, that you create an environment where people can flourish. And also that's for me very important, and also how the office values stand. And the third point would be keep an open mind. Zaha was very good in that, as being a total free spirit. When you're an architect, often you get very complicated briefs. You get input from clients, cost constraints, building constraints. And she was really someone who was above all that and still kept a very open mind that the most unique concept wins. And that was really inspiring to work with her. She often really pushed you, woke you up to think differently, and is leading the project in a different direction.
Wonderful. Yes, I have sort of read about it that at some point you mentioned that I always wanted to be where new ideas meet real ground. And Zaha Studio had that energy from day one, is what you had mentioned. And it's wonderful to see these three aspects of being open-minded, being the best idea winning is amazing. Continuing on the same course of, design philosophy and working style, you're known to have a very collaborative way of working.
Yeah.
Is this something that, again, is a part of the culture and ethos of the ZHA firm? You already mentioned that she was always open to ideas and open-minded herself.
Yeah.
And she would sort of shake you up and push you to create.
Yeah, collaborative workflow is certainly something very important. We have very large projects. You need very large teams. And the exchange is very important. When I started, the office was only 60 people. Now we are 450. And we have also different teams. We have a team which only looks at code or sustainability or space planning or interior. So for large projects, what we do is we have project teams, but then you collaborate with all these smaller groups which come into the project when you need them and help the project. So a collaborative workflow with the team, but also with the client, is very important.
Right. Yeah, I think it kind of touches upon the next topic that I wanted to address. You obviously are getting very complex and large project briefs.
Yeah.
Are there moments in the studio where there's a lot of energy and heat and conflict, or you sort of have a mechanism to work around in the collaborative environment?
It's true that often our projects are public. There's also a lot of attention, especially I would say in early stages, concept design and schematic design. It's quite challenging. It's also a project often out of a client's comfort zone, which takes a lot of convincing. You need to win a client's trust. You need to take a client on a journey and really find a way to have an open discussion about everything and find the best solution. But I do think this open discussion and winning someone's trust is key to a successful project.
Okay, the practice ZHA itself is known for bold geometry, a lot of technical innovation.
Yeah.
Do you have an example or a project where you had to really sort of push the boundaries of technology that is within your studios and the brief and the teamwork that you thrive on?
It's every project basically, but I can just mention a few. Obviously, the technology evolved in the last years, and in the office we started to really build, I would say 20 years ago, where really a lot of projects got built, and I do think we were driver also for the industry, and we found contractors or fabricators who had the same ambition and they wanted to challenge the industry as we wanted. And you really find these kind of friends to go on the journey with you. But for instance, there are many projects I can think of, but for instance, 28th Street in New York, we had the facade geometry, which was very complex, but we found an amazing fabricator in Philadelphia, everything in stainless steel. They used to be a very small company when we met them, but then a year later were a full-blown facade company and did an amazing job. But again, there was a lot of pressure to get this facade right. There was a very stressful moment. On this project particularly, the interiors were the most challenge to find the right balance between a product the client can sell and the marketing team can sell, but also then carries our language. We did a lot of studies to find the right balance. Because before 28th Street, we did some residential project, but they were not in that scale. They were more like private villas. And Zaha was very much involved. She wanted something very bespoke, but then we needed a product which also gives enough space for the buyers. I think the interiors was the most challenge for 28th Street, but another projects like the new one in Dongguan, Songshan Lake, is a performance center. And what happens in China, it's when clients get the land from the city, from the government, they get a deadline to complete the project. So time is from essence, and there's a lot of pressure to complete in time. So what's happening is that we are sometimes in schematic design, but our local architects already need to produce piling foundation plans that you send documents on site. Okay. So there's a overlap of timeline which needs to be managed and is quite complicated to do. But so each client or also country have their own challenges and you need to manage.
Okay. Talking about timelines, what is the 28th Street, New York, or the Songshan one? What would be a typical timeline for design to move from ideation level concept to a fully furnished schematic or a design developed?
So 28th Street was, we won in end of 2012, and it was complete in 2017, 2018, so 5 years.
5 years.
It's a 16,000 square meter residential project. So it's not extremely big. It's actually quite small scale. Songshan Lake is also in that range. It's 23,000 square meter, and took a bit shorter. That was only 3 to 4 years. So it was that was very fast. But there are other projects I'm working on. The quickest one was 1 million square meter, a master plan in Chengdu, and there we started 2020, and it's going to be complete next year. And it's it's almost a city.
Right. Yeah, we got a sense of talking about digital design and the dimension of intuition. So how do you balance this digital design working with softwares, etc., at the same time what truly emanates from your intuition and inspiration? How do you find out?
Intuition is certainly an important part of the work. Understand what the client needs, what the brief requires, to find the right balance between them or the right solution for a project. I do think intuition is very important. When it comes to softwares and tools, they develop a lot. I mean, when we look back to Zaha's first project she won, the peak was essentially she won with a huge painting. But the design tools evolved. At that time, we did a lot with hand drawings or model making. In the recent last 20 years, is a lot of with computers. There are new softwares on the market. We still did project in Germany, like a museum that was still done with AutoCAD, or even Maxi, where it was even difficult to do a curve.
Okay.
But then our projects became much more complex, and tools like Maya, which is more used for cinema, animation movies.
Parametric.
Yes, but also in last years, Rhino became very good with Grasshopper, and now I think a whole new scene is emerging with AI, which is a much more intuitive workflow. The workflow becomes much faster. At the moment, often outsource renderings for professionals. That can be a lot done now in-house. You get really nice results. And you get also feedback. You can run hand sketches through AI or turn them into 3D. It's a very fun workflow. And I do think it's going to evolve. And I think it's going to revolutionize the way we work in architecture and also make it much more efficient. because I do think at the moment in architecture, there is a certain level of difficulty when we draw all the drawing packages and then they're going to the contractors and fabricators. They bring in their details. I do think we can mainstream all this workflow and make it more efficient.
So is the starting point always a hand-drawn sketch or a handwork, or you kind of juggle between?
Most of the time is like analyzing the site, diagrams, reading the brief, starting with program. But then, we start to hand sketch. We do 3D models, renderings, but also now working with AI to get different inputs. It's different media, model making as well. We really like to try different media and getting different inputs to see what works best.
3D printing as well.
3D printing is a tool for model making. We have our own model make shop. We have a robotic arm for 3D printing, and you can do laser print models. So we have a model shop, and so we also get these models done.
Wonderful. Nice to know. So Johannes, our audience, we expect them to be a mix of professionals, younger professional students, and also general public, in the sense, people who could be design enthusiasts from other industries or even clients. So we want these episodes to bring out aspects of the profession which, in a sense, promote and educate people on how truly architects work and what really goes through their studios and minds in terms of arriving at a built environment that we really see and appreciate at the end. But there's a lot that goes behind the scenes. So you have given us a fair insight into your design process, and we will move further on to culture and context aspect. Your work spans Asia, the Middle East, China, the USA, across continents when you're working. Are there differences culturally or in terms of work ethos? And how do you sort of balance or work around with different set of people and context?
There's certainly a difference in culture, and it's very important to us for the design as well. So we always, as I said before, we always look at the sites, analyze the site, the condition, look at the brief, and then start to develop the project. But it's always, the culture is a very important one. If I go back again to 28th Street, the project is on the High Line, which was a very industrial area in the past. I mean, in the 1920s, there were like trains coming into the city, bringing food to the city. That was then not used anymore, and only like more recently, 20 years ago, it was converted to a park. So people can walk along the park, and the whole area transformed. But in terms of design, we really wanted the building to reflect the kind of industrial feel of the area. And the fabricator did an amazing job. So it's all in stainless steel. And then we have two colors, a colored angel hair finish. It's very rough and it's very handcrafted. And it really reflects beautifully what the past was on that location. Or another project I can mention would be, again, the Songshan Lake project. Dongguan is the area for the Cantonese opera, the birthplace of Cantonese opera. So we wanted to create a building with flecked stands. So like a ribbon, the building interiors are wrapped, and it's really like a Cantonese dress in some way. And we're using local materials like ceramic tiles and wood to really, should look like traditional Chinese roof in a contemporary way.
Okay.
So the relationship to the place is very important, and then comes sustainability into place, that you also source materials from that region. So, but it's a very important part of our work.
Interesting. And extending this discussion on culture and context, we witnessed the opening of Navi Mumbai Airport Terminal a couple of days ago by our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. And what has been your experience working in India with the Indian context? And we understand lotus flower was the starting point in inspiration for you. So would you elaborate on this particular?
So yeah, I was with my colleague. We were at the inauguration on Wednesday. It was a beautiful event. It was for 40,000 people. It was just next to the airport. And the airport looks really fantastic. And it's amazing to come to India to find so many beautiful airports. I think we're very proud that there's another masterpiece now from Zaha Hadid Architects in Mumbai. And so the inspiration, as you said, it was lotus flower, which is a very important flower in India. And especially the interior columns. There's huge columns with petals holding up the roof structure. And so the roof is really floating on top and then dipping down to the front. It has a very beautiful effect. So there's still some minor work to be done on the design. It's still a construction site, but it's going to be finished in the next 2 months. Hopefully everyone can see it in its full beauty.
Certainly. Yeah, I think for an emerging, developing India, we are equally proud to have our public spaces and particularly transit spaces like this shaping up really beautifully.
Yes.
Now, India itself is experiencing rapid urbanization and growth. And I'm sure you would have noticed the architecture and the cityscape of India. What is your take or impression of what you see in India and what's good, what is lacking?
It's fascinating to see the rapid growth. I just came back to Mumbai in August, but then I haven't been for a year. And to see already the waterfronts being cleared out, there will be a lot more green now happening, a lot of more towers coming up. So already like in this 1 year, I can see transformation. But also, for instance, if I go to Delhi, the whole area of Gurgaon or Noida is a lot in development and changing. So it's fascinating to see. And I think there is huge potential for the future. And well, hopefully for us as well, we can contribute more and make a real change in India.
Thank you so much. Like I mentioned, we have a fair amount of audience who is students and young professionals.
Yeah.
And you have experienced a direct interaction with a legendary architect, and the rigor, the open-mindedness, the collaborative spirit, and pushing the boundaries really on architecture. What would your advice or suggestion be for the youth of India who are aspiring designers?
I do think that hard work and dedication is necessary in any profession where you want to excel. And that is not only architecture, that can be in sports, that can be if you're a musician. In any sport, I think you need to really work hard. And you can talk to some very well-known sports legends, they will say the same. And the same, I think, is in architecture. It needs a lot of training. I do think people in India, there's a real future here. There's such a change. Also, I would say now the whole industry changing with AI, the whole workforce is changing. There's so much more opportunities coming up. And then you have an economy which is thriving. I do feel that young people should be really encouraged in India that there's a bright future.
Thank you so much. That's so reassuring. What kind of mindsets, attitudes, and habits you would recommend to the youth of this country successful?
To be successful, I do think it's dedication and focus. If you really put your head to something, you can achieve it. But it needs dedication and focus. And as said, I do think in India there's a lot of opportunities, a lot new opportunities with new workflows, which will be amazing for people who are just breaking into the industry or are studying a new job. There's a bright future ahead of them.
An extension of this discussion itself about young minds, mentoring.
Yeah.
Mentorship, you're involved with the Architectural Association in London, and you've been mentoring people. And I quote something that I have heard. You're known to be, in your circle of colleagues, rigorous and relentlessly experimental.
Okay, yes.
So you can elaborate on that aspect of you, that dimension of you as a mentor.
Well, it's something what was very, very important to Zaha herself. Never stop experimenting. And that's still what we do in the office. Like research and experimentation is very important to us. We do have our own dedicated research team. to always challenge what is status quo and what is going to be the future. And that's very important to us. So for young students, I think it's the same, to find an area, a topic which they love. They need to love what they do. And then really focus and work hard to achieve their goals.
So, Hannes, you mentioned about sustainability being also one of the drivers. What are the measures or strategies within the design studio that at the early stages of project itself you involve so that sustainability is kind of carried through?
Sustainability is certainly a very important part of the future. It's becoming a driving force for design in the future. And I do feel that AI and new technologies will help us to achieve their goals. In the past, I think it was form follows function. The future for me will be form follows data. I do feel that with AI, it will allow us to collect much more data while designing. So for instance, when we're designing a project, there will be much more feedback on how the building performs in terms of how much concrete you use, how is the sunlight performing. Maybe even AI will give us suggestions what we can improve to make a better design, which is more sustainable. So I do think there will be a very close interaction with technology to find the best product. And the industry is already going into the direction where you might not get insurance for a building if you don't tick certain sustainability goals. So I do feel the future will be that we almost gonna submit like a Fitbit of our building when you submit a design, which is like, how fit is your building or how well does it perform? Otherwise, you're not gonna win work. So I do feel that sustainability is a key driver for the future.
Interesting. I kind of like the Fitbit analogy of sustainability and how we can qualify to be the chosen architects having that fitness score in some sense. Let's talk a little bit about Johannes as a person. Outside of your work, we understand the rigor, pushing boundaries, that raw talent that ZHA brings. Who is Johannes in his personal life? About what inspires you, the personal side of you?
Well, I do like to be in nature, which is, I mean, when I travel a lot. So, you know, when you come to India, it's quite intense, or living in London. So being in nature is, for me, very relaxing and inspiring. And that can be going for a cycle ride or walking, or when I go back home in Austria, skiing, I love to do. I do play a lot of tennis. Or I'm just on my motorcycle in the countryside, and you have a free mind. It's very refreshing.
Okay.
And but I do like going to exhibitions, meeting friends, and definitely also travel. It can be a bit too much if you travel for work a lot, but I do like to meet people and learn about new cultures, and I do think it's very enriching and important to design projects across the globe.
Nice. So we are reaching a wrap-up phase. Can you recall any incident or something in your memory that lives fresh even today that you recall from your association with Dame Zaha Hadid that you would like to share with our audience?
Zaha was a very generous person. She can be very tough, and she expected a lot from everyone. But at the same time, there was always rewards and acknowledgement. We were often traveling together or after deadlines. And she was a person who really could read people very well. So she would push you to the very limits, but not go above it. And I do miss that. And I do think Zaha is the generous person. I do remember a lot.
Yeah, I have heard that she has always had this abiding confidence in youth and younger talent, and she had this innate ability to push herself and people around her. You mentioned about how we need to give it time and put a lot of effort, hard work to be where someone like Zaha Hadid is. So that's a very inspiring aspect for our practices here as well as youngsters, I assume.
Yeah, she really liked to be surrounded by young people which come to the office, bring new ideas. She loved that kind of energy. But I have to also say that Patrick Schumacher, who is our principal now, he was always on her side and was a very important part to make it to the company it is today.
Wonderful. Yeah, I really like the this aspect. Probably we didn't know that being generous. We know her to be humble and hardworking, and then trusting people. But this generosity aspect is very, very inspiring for me. So finally, currently on your design board, what are you most excited about? What's calling you? What's ahead of you now? What are you looking forward to?
Well, it's a couple of projects we're going to be finished in the next years, which is I'm very much looking forward. Some of them I mentioned already today. In the next months, Songshan Lake in Dongguan will be completed, followed by the huge master plan of Unicorn Island in Chengdu next year, and then also the Aljada master plan, which we finished a discovery center, a small part of the master plan, but not the whole complete master plan. So that's, I think, very exciting. But also the whole new workflow with AI and sustainability. I do think there will be a lot of change coming, which is exciting. And I think will bring new opportunities and definitely new projects. And very much looking forward. I'm hoping to get to build some project in India. And because I do feel there's a lot of opportunities. Yes. And you really can make a change, which I love. There is such a fantastic energy in the city. And I do think we can make a big change and contribute to the cities. So hopefully next time I meet you, we have a few more projects here we will developing.
And hopefully we will have an episode part 2 of this conversation, learning a bit more about ZHA and your work. Under your directorship, how large is your team?
It changes. The team size changes. It depends on the projects. So we have core teams, but then they get bigger or smaller depending on what the work is at the moment. So when we did large projects like Unicorn Island, they were up to 50 people. Then if projects are coming to site, you need a smaller team because we always have local architects. So we have only like a few people who are supervising the work. And then there's always like a lot of new business work and competitions. But we do have a very organic team structure. And we can elaborate a bit more. We have our office is structured into clusters, which are cost centers, because at some point the office became too large to manage. So we had to have like clusters which are financially independent, and it's also for resource purposes. And then within these clusters, you have different teams, and the resourcing is shared quite organically. So we do have their own teams, but then we borrow in as we need and required for deadlines or project submissions.
That's interesting. So it is interesting to note, Johannes, that you mentioned the fabricator also having the same level of passion to push their boundaries while you're designing something unique, whether it's with the roof or the facade.
Yeah.
We would like our Indian fabricators and trade partners to sort of latch onto this spirit of innovation in their work as well to push the boundary. Any other example you have where something unique was done by the
We have underway when you work in this industry, especially many years ago, where these technologies has not been done. But also now you do find people who are as experimental as we are, just in a total different field. And it is amazing when you meet these people and it really clicks, because they're pioneers themselves, just in a different field. So I can mention one example, for instance, kind of also a friend who did like 4 projects with us, fabricator in the UAE, Arabian Profile they're called. And he started his work when he told me at dinner in Africa, he wanted to build schools, but there was no material. So he bought mattresses from a mattress company, and that was used for insulation. And then he created domes and put concrete on top. And that was the start of his GSC company. And now it's a full-blown company operating in Sharjah, and he did many projects with us. These kind of people, as experimental as we are, and it's always amazing to find these people.
That's very interesting to note a success story of a modest fabricator or a, applicator, scaling up into great business just by associating with innovative design. There was this incident once where it was probably humbling for you all that you discovered for the aquatic center roof, the design was found to be not buildable, and then you had to kind of redesign it in the studio. Could you?
So it was not buildable, but when we submitted our design, there were more facilities under one roof. It was always, the idea was like a wave or like a swimmer. His roof drops down and comes up again. There was a component which was the Olympic polo pool, which was within the building first, so it was much bigger. And due to cost, they wanted to reduce it and make that part of the program then temporary, which they happened. So there was an access bridge coming into sight. They made the polo temporary, and then we had in the aquatic center was only the competition pool, the diving pool, and a warm-up pool under the bridge. So we could shrink the roof quite significantly. It was over 50%.
Oh.
And so now it's just one drop. Before it was like 2 times. And that rationalized the scheme quite a lot. And it works really brilliantly, the aquatic center. We designed it in a way, we had temporary stands attached to the building. So during the Olympic Games, there were for 15,000 people. And we had to check all the sight lines that you can see the pool. And then now they removed the stands, put in the glazing, and it's for 3,000 people, for 3,000 spectators. But especially when you go in, it's operated by Beta, and it's a public pool. So when you go there, it's full of kids and it's full of life and it's amazing. So, and it's really inspiring as well. And it makes you feel as architect also very proud to see. At the time when we built it, there was a lot about expectations and there was a lot about focus on the cost. But then when you go in there now and how many people you actually inspire and who really get inspired by the different architecture, by the different space, you really think it's worth the fight, because it's really a struggle to build a building like that.
Yeah,
but then when you see it many years after and all these kids are having fun, I think it's totally worth it.
Yeah, I think the reward of seeing your space getting truly utilized and then people using it to the fullest.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Johannes, for so generously sharing personal anecdotes about your life work and the architect that we all truly look up to, Dame Zaha Hadid, and her inspiration, her nature and work. It's been truly exciting and very inspiring personally for me. And on behalf of IIID Bangalore Regional Chapter, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to you for sharing this time, sharing your insights and energy into this episode. We certainly look forward to you visiting India more often. And we would also like to maybe at some point extend this conversation to another episode. So thank you once again from the heart.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure being here.
Same.
And we have another talk tonight, so looking forward to that too. And thank you for everyone joining this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us up to this point. To all our listeners, stay curious, keep questioning, and continue to shape the world around you. From IIID BRC, this is Sathish Desai, your co-traveler and host, signing off for this episode. And we truly look forward to you joining us in the next one very soon. Thank you.